Phillies and Joseph Colts, I welcome you back to this story in Pony Fanfiction Theater. This is Dragging Your Hooves Part 2. Read the links in the description for the reading, so let's begin.
And co-host edgewoodblake here.
And yes, that's him. Forgot to do that. Spike paced back and forth, waiting impatiently for Twilight to come up with a cure for his condition. The pacing was going surprisingly well. Every step was met with difficulty at first, but he gradually got more used to his new body. After a bit of confident pacing, he decided to try a bit of a run. There were a few trip-ups, as was to be expected, but after a little while he was galloping with relative ease. As he galloped, he felt his wing brush against a nearby lamp. He had completely forgotten that he became a Pegasus. His tests with flying were far less successful than his walking and running attempts, but he was eventually able to get himself to hover a tiny bit off the ground. That was all that his little wings would allow, but he was satisfied with it. Suddenly Spike had a thought that he would never really fully examine himself in the mirror earlier. What was his cutie mark? Surely it would be something awesome. Since he was a dragon, well, usually one of many talents, he was a great writer, so maybe he helped get a quill or a microphone for his announcing talent. I don't know about the announcing talent thing, especially in that freaking episode. Or maybe a burly bicep. Oh, sure, yeah. To represent how...
Or a mustache.
Oh, yes, the mustache. 25 different mustaches. Or represent how buff and manly he was. Spike bolted towards the mirror and turned to check out his flank. He saw no cutie mark. Spike sighed. He had never really understood why Apple Bloom was so bent up about not having her cutie mark before, but the disappointing at seeing the distinct lack of cutie mark on her own flank. Blank flank. Even though he wasn't naturally a pony, he was a bit of a shot in the arm.
He could join the Crusaders. That is if he'll be allowed to. i.e., Dragon Slayers.
No, let's not go there. Let's not. That's for another time.
Have too soon. You have too soon.
That's another time. Spike looked up at the clock of the wall. He'd been waiting for so long and was more than a bit restless. He didn't like being cooped up in his room for all this time without being asleep, and he was feeling too energetic to nap while waiting. He decided that despite being struck in his body, he was going to go out and do something to break the mantra moton. What is that, Nate? Word?
Wait, which is it?
You're losing your way, man. Are you even following along?
Okay. Bleh.
Montagne? Yeah. The purple Pegasus trotted up the door and went to grab a doorknob.
I think it must be monetary or something.
Oh, yeah. And soon discovered that a lack of fingers made doorknobs a formidable foe. Yeah, you don't have any fingers, haha. Spike spent a good 5 minutes trying it before he was finally able to get the knob to turn. He took a single step out of his room. Spike! Twilight's voice yelled from downstairs. Don't even think of going anywhere like that. Spike groaned and returned to his room, shutting the door again. He couldn't stay in this room any longer. The purple Pegasus looked around the room for some way of escape. When his eyes came to rest on the bed sheets, it took quite a bit of effort, but he managed to get the sheets tied together and anchored them to the foot of Twilight's bed. The other end went out of the window, and his escape was a success. Spike delighted in the feeling of the grass beneath his hooves. He trotted in circles, feeling the breeze pass through his mane as he did so. He had no intentions of staying in this form, but for the time being it wasn't so bad. His trotting turned into running, and he decided he was ready to attempt flying again. This time went even better than the last attempt. He started off hovering, but after a bit he was able to raise himself higher into the air and even do small flip. Spike was immensely proud of himself when he touched down again. Suddenly he heard a voice behind him. Wow, that was so cool! A young female voice called out. Spike turned around to see three young fillies staring at him. He recognized one of them as Applejack's little sister Applebloom. He'd seen her around a few times, but he didn't immediately recognize the two others with her. See, you mentioned Cootie My Crusaders and friggin' there they are.
Yeah.
You must be new around here, Applebloom said. I've never seen you before. Her eyes tracked from Spike to the train of bed sheets coming out of Twilight's window. Oh, do you know Twilight Sparkle? Spike was about to tell them about what happened to him, but the true story of what happened made him sound like a major klutz, and he didn't want that. Twilight's little cousin, Spike said hurriedly, and I'm visiting you from out of town. He surprised himself. He meant to make up a different story about how he became a pony, but what was said, and he had to stick to it now. Applebloom, look. With the white unicorn filly standing next to her and said, pointing at Spike, he doesn't have his cutie mark either. We should let him join our club. The orange Pegasus on the other side of Applebloom said, as the white one nodded. Yeah, he can hang out with us if he wants, Applebloom said, smiling. She then took a step toward Spike and extended a hoof. How would you like to join the Cutie Mark Crusaders on their quest to find their cutie marks? Spike considered this for a moment, then decided that it was something to do and shook her hoof. The name's Applebloom. The yellow pony said, smiling. I'm Scootaloo, shouted the orange Pegasus. And I'm Sweetie Belle, the white unicorn said. What's your name? I'm Spike started and then caught himself. He couldn't go around saying his name was Spike, or they surely figure out what's going on. Spark, he finished. Sparkstar is my name. He smiled, impressed with himself for coming up with the name so quickly. Well, it's awful nice to meet you, Sparkstar, Applebloom said, and she then looked quickly at her flank. Aw, no politeness, cutie mark? Come on! The others expected her flanks as well, and were met with equal disappointment. So, what do you girls usually do? Spike said. Come on, girls, Applebloom said excitedly. Let's show Sparkstar how the Cutie Mark Crusaders get things done. Cutie Mark Crusaders, go! The three of them shouted. Cutie Mark Crusaders, go! Spike echoed a little late. The three girls dashed off as he followed close behind. These three seemed that they knew how to have fun. Twilight Sparkle smiled as she finished the final touch of her antidote. This had been a much quicker process than her attempt at finding a counter to that love spell she accidentally cast on Rarity a while back, probably because she knew exactly what the powder that had caused the transformation was. It was a bit strange that powder had caused a pony transformation. She didn't expect that result at all. Luckily, the horrible rash that was the powder's intended effect on ponies didn't seem to be showing up at all on Spike. Regardless, the concoction he had come up with an exact opposite on the powder, guaranteed to erase any and all effects created by it. Twilight nodded her head confidently at a job well done. Now all she had to do was administer the concoction to Spike, and everything would be back to normal. Spike! Twilight called as she trotted up the stairs. Spike! The lack of reaction didn't concern Twilight at first. She figured that the poor little guy, worn out from his ordeal, and had fallen back asleep while waiting. She smiled, thinking of him tucked in bed. He was really adorable as a little foal. Something she was going to be sure to lord playfully over him before she changed him back, since she knew how bothered it would make him. Spot! Twilight started as she opened the door. He was not in bed. In fact, nothing was in his bed, not even the sheets, because they were tied to the foot of the bed and leading out of the window. Her eyes narrowed, and her smile turned into a frown. Then she trotted back downstairs and exited her house. Spike was going to be in a lot of trouble when she found him. Spike had begun to slightly reconsider things as she followed the Cutie Mark Crusaders. He'd been happy to join them at first, wanted something fun to do. The more he thought about it, though, the more he worried. These were three young fillies that he was following around. He was likely to get stuck doing something silly and girly. That was all what he wanted. He was a bit lazy sometimes, but at times like this, where he wanted to be going out having fun, he was more of a type to go adventuring or do something physical. Girly activities did not suit him. They were totally out of the question. As the fillies came to a halt, he looked around and realized that they were in a field of flowers. His mind raced, filling with the thoughts of possible activities that he wanted no part of. Flower picking. Well, that was all he could come up with. Really, it still didn't appeal to him. "Are you ready, Sparkstar?" Scootaloo asked, breaking him out of his train of thought. Yeah," he said. "What are we doing anyway?" He dreaded the answer. Suddenly, a football thwacked him right in the side of the face. "Cutie Mark Crusader football players!" Applebloom shouted, and tackled Spike to the ground. Spike was shocked. He couldn't say as he expected this. He laughed as he got up and dusted himself off. Maybe this would be more fun than he was expecting. He scooped up the football in his four hooves and tossed it towards Sweetie Belle. She tried to catch it, but missed it and fell down. He felt bad for the moment, but it was all in good fun. The football experiment ended up being a failure, with none of them four getting their cutie marks from it. Their next attempt at Scootaloo's request was at a karate display, and it went no better. This theme continued for the next 2 or so hours. Every single thing they tried was met with failure and a lack of cutie marks. Still, Spike was enjoying every single second of it. Races, sports, of any regular or extreme varieties. None of it was what he expected from the 3 fillies, and every bit of it was a blast. This was more fun than he had in ages. This was around the time that a Cutie Mark Crusaders mixed martial arts tournament was organized, and Spike noticed Sweetie Belle was sitting around, looking generally unhappy. He hadn't realized until just then, but now that he thought about it, he hadn't really got into any of activities he had been taking a part in. Applebloom and Scootaloo were a gung-ho about everything they had been doing. But for the most part, Sweetie either participated into the lower extent or in the last few activities, or barely even participated at all. She looked particularly sad right now, and Spike felt compelled to go talk to her. While Applebloom and Scootaloo were busy practicing arm bars on each other, Spike settled up to Sweetie. "Is everything okay, Sweetie Belle?" Spike asked. "You seem kind of upset." Sweetie looked up at Spike and put on an obviously fake smile. "I'm fine," Sweetie responded, trying to sound happy. "I'm having a great time. Playing sports and running races, doing other physical things that I'm not good at." Sweetie's fake smile quickly faded into a frown as she buried her face in her hooves. She wasn't crying, but she seemed like she was about to at any moment. "Oh, come on," Spike said. "You weren't so bad." Now that he remembered it better, she was kind of bad at most of her activities. But he didn't want to tell her that when she was this upset. "Yes, I was," Sweetie said. "Do you see when I dropped the football? When I tripped 3 times during that one race? I'm so bad at these things, and they're all Applebloom and Scootaloo ever want to do." Seeing Sweetie was so upset was starting to make Spike feel bad. He was enjoying the physical activity so much, he wasn't paying attention to the fact that Sweetie wasn't having a good time either. "You should probably let them know that you don't want to do the things they always want to do," Spike told her, trying his best to help. "I've tried," Sweetie moaned, "but they never want to do the things I want to do, and it's 2 to 1, so we never get to do them." "Well, what kinds of things do you want to do?" Spike asked. Sweetie looked back up at Spike in amazement. He guessed to himself that he wasn't asked that question very often. "Well," Sweetie said, "I kind of want to have a tea party, and thought maybe we could try modeling some clothes or something." Spike began to zone out. This was exactly what he'd been fearing. He had absolutely zero interest in of the things Sweetie was suggesting. His train of thought was interrupted when he noticed that Sweetie had stopped talking and was looking at him expectantly. She looked so excited that someone had taken interest in what she wanted to do, and he did feel bad when the others never wanted to indulge her. "Well, if Applebloom and Scootaloo are too busy to do what you want to do, then how about I do those things with you?" Spike instantly regretted saying this, but the look of absolute joy on Sweetie's face made him feel better. He felt Sweetie suddenly grabbed his hoof and dragged him over to where Apple Bloom and Scootaloo were training. Hey girls, Sparkstar and I are gonna split off and try some activities together. Okay, see you guys later. Spike bubbled excitedly before Apple...
Girls.
Yeah. See you girls later. Sweetie bubbled excitedly. Before Apple Bloom or Scootaloo could say a word, Sweetie had dashed off while Spike trying his hardest to catch up with her. And we'll continue this in another part.